Hello, everybody. My name is Braden Josh Sumabat, and today I'm going to be talking about the use of e-cigarettes among high school students and why that's a problem. And I chose to focus on high school students because I feel like that this is where the problem is most impactful, and we'll get into that later. So first, we're gonna go on a basic rundown. What are e-cigarettes? So obviously, the E in e-cigarettes stands for electronic, and what that entails is that it's an electronic cigarette or an electronic device with a cartridge or tube, and that could have some kind of liquid or some kind of juice that is then evaporated, and that vapor is to be inhaled and then exhaled, similar to how a cigarette is smoked. And some popular e-cigarette products are going to be hookahs, vapes, Juuls, and Puff Bars. Juuls and Puff Bars are two really popular brands recently, but I'm pretty sure that those two have already gone out of business. So first we're going to talk about the effect on the consumer's health and not just high schoolers. We're talking about everybody that uses e-cigarettes, adults, high schoolers, all that. So the long-term effects are still unsure, and that's why a lot of people are speculating whether or not it's safer than e-cigarettes, if not worse. I mean, safer than regular cigarettes, if not worse. That is because e-cigarettes are still pretty recent. Like the e-cigarettes still came out in about 2006, and you know, it hasn't gone a long enough time hasn't gone by for long-term effects to be determined. So it's not really certain whether or not they are safer, but there are a lot of chemicals in the e-cigarettes that can be potentially dangerous, and there's evidence that's leading to that. For example, there's diacetyl, there's nicotine, and nicotine, as we all know, is a highly addictive chemical and is really bad for your lungs and for your body. There are also heavy metals in e-cigarettes in the juices, such as nickel and lead, and we obviously don't want to be putting that into our lungs. As of September 2016, there have been over 800 patients with lung disease that were reported to be active e-cigarette users. Although this can be seen as evidence, there are a lot of things like the time frame or how long they've been e-cigarette users that can't really determine whether or not that it's like a direct correlation. But although it is strongly suggested that it is. And now we're gonna focus on the main focus of this presentation, which is the high schoolers' use of e-cigarettes. So, as of 2019, 27.5% of high schoolers are active e-cigarette users. They've been reported to be active e-cigarette users. And this is a problem because in 2000, 28% of high schoolers are reported to be cigarette users. They've been reported to be active cigarette users. And this number is extremely similar to the percentage back in 2000, and we all know how bad cigarettes are and how they've got how it grew after that. Like a lot of people were cigarette smokers, and we all know about the long-term effects. So that kind of does lead us to believe that e-cigarettes are really bad, and they might have an even bigger impact in the future if this number does go up. So one of the big questions is why e-cigarettes? Although it's still bad for you, as a lot of people know, why do people still choose to smoke e-cigarettes? 39% stated it was because of a family member, like their older brother or their parents, someone that they look up to in their family, have used e-cigarettes, and they think, oh, I want to give that a try. A lot of times, this family member also is their connection to e-cigarettes, so they'll buy it for them, and they'll just give it to their family member, their youth family member, if they're not able to buy it themselves. 31% stated it was because of the flavor. So as you can see on the right is a wide selection of e-cigarette flavors, like lychee, mango, cheesecake. There are tons and tons of flavors out there for e-cigarette juices, and that's one of the reasons why people like to smoke them. 17.1% stated is because it was safer than cigarettes, and safer, as we know, it's not really certain if it is safer because, like I said, there are a lot of harmful chemicals in the e-cigarettes, and those chemicals have been proven to lead to a lot of lung failures and lung diseases in the future. All right, so now we're gonna focus. Why is e-cigarettes dangerous? And this is not just like long-term effects. Uh, this is branching out from that. So it can lead to addictions. When you're younger, this is focusing on high schoolers, by the way. When you're younger, you are more susceptible to develop addictions to nicotine, and that's because your brain is still developing, and when it develops, it builds a synapse, and synapses are built when you kind of develop a new skill. When your brain is building synapses when you're younger and you are smoking e-cigarettes, you'll become more susceptible to becoming addicted because your brain is building the synapse that thinks, oh, like this is normal to me. I like to do this. It could also cause mood disorders, especially when you're trying to quit or when you're having withdrawals from your e-cigarette addiction, because one of the symptoms of withdrawal is a mood disorder, and there's also a lack of impulse control. And what this means is that you have a hard time making decisions, because we all know that e-cigarettes are wrong, but when you do it and think that it's normal, it kind of has an effect on what you think is right or wrong. And it may also lead to other addictions, because a lot of people that do smoke e-cigarettes have been led to smoking cigarettes or weed or other stuff. There are also a lot of short-term side effects, such as heavy coughing, frequent heavy coughing, shortness of breath, and there are extreme cases where people end up being hospitalized because of their excessive use of e-cigarettes, and that especially because of the nicotine. And like I said before, there are also a lot of harmful chemicals inside the e-cigarettes that can end up hurting you in the future. Although, like I said, e-cigarettes aren't proven to be bad, the chemicals inside are proven. And there are some prevention methods out there. So, one of the primary methods of prevention is that there are age restrictions on tobacco-related products. Um, Last year or this year, one of the age restriction on tobacco-related products in the U.S. was raised from 18 to 21. And even before that, the age restriction was 16, and that was raised to 18 in the early 2000s. And that is really good, because it does give people from 18 to 20 it gives them that restriction, and that kind of weans them off of it. A tertiary prevention method would be replacement therapy products. That includes nicotine patches, nicotine gum, nicotine inhaler, all that stuff that's on the chart on the right. And although you're not allowed to buy that when you're under 18, somebody over 18 could buy it for someone. They could basically buy it for a minor, and that's not illegal. A lot of doctors do recommend that. There are also a lot of support groups, especially for teens with nicotine addictions, where they meet up every now and then and they talk about their progress. And support groups are really important, because when you're going through an addiction, it's important to have good support, so that you know that somebody's depending on you to stop, and that there are people that want you to be better. There are also a lot of coping methods. Some would be eating crunchy vegetables to try and deal with an addiction, or sugarless gum to whenever you have the nicotine craving. And all this is just to prevent, like, kind of get you off your addiction and kind of get you away from e-cigarettes. And yeah, that concludes my presentation. Some final thoughts would be that although it may not be proven to have negative long-term effects, it is still heavily implied, because the chemicals inside have been proven. So yeah, that's pretty much it for my presentation, and here are my references. Thank you very much, and you all have a nice day.